Welcome back to Business Live. My name is Darryl Kwa. We begin with the standoff at Opera Square here in Accra, and the Accra Region Police Command has described the shutting down of shops belonging to foreigners by some Ghanaian traders as an act of vigilantism that is criminal and could lead to arrest. Speaking to Joy Business after meeting with the leadership of the Ghana Union of Traders Association and Nigeria Union of Traders Association, head of the Accra Region Police Command, Superintendent Kwesi Ofori, said all parties have been asked to exercise restraint.
As part of the agreement, they decided to confer among themselves and ensure that petty issues and other general issues that raises or contribute to tension among the two sides are resolved. So we've given them that opportunity for them to have that sort of bilateral discussion and come back to us to inform us about the decision taken. But they have resolved that by Wednesday there should be a breakthrough where they can, normalize relations. But the police, we made it clear to them that nobody can take the laws of the land into his or her own hand in dealing with the situation. We have laws, we have stakeholders, and we have establishment, to deal with it. And GUTA members are entreated to follow due process.
So it means that if anyone moving forward goes to close a shop of a foreigner or even an indigent, that person is liable to being arrested?
Because we've seen that some of the characteristics regarding the closures, one, use of force, violence, misunderstanding, and general confusion and tension, which impedes on peace and security. And that is our area. Our command will not permit that.
All right. Meanwhile, President of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Dr. Joseph Obeng, has been reacting to the assertions by the police.
The office of the commander, the two sides met. And for us, GUTA, you see, we are not personalizing this. Even this is not even Nigeria. It's about the law and the foreigners. And now it seems that everybody is limiting it to Nigeria, which is even disturbing our cause because we are not personalizing any issue. And the membership of the foreigners to engage with them tomorrow. After that, I will ensure that their shops are opened for them. So that's how far we've gone.
So it simply means that the entire impasse between foreigners and Ghanaian retailers has come to an end? In terms of the closure of shops and, the back and forth, the violence, has it all come to an end?
No, we are solving the Ghana Electrical Dealers Association area problem. So this is limited to because each area has its own. That's why the national security should take our situation very serious, because the red flag is at about 13 areas, strong areas. Swami is still burning. Abosukai is yet to explode very soon. And then, because we put pressure on my very self and my executives to calm these pressures and all that.
All right, let's talk about press freedom. As you may be aware, the multimedia group has started a campaign asking for press freedom. Well, the executive secretary of the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, Geba Gloria Hiaji, has called on the state to be mindful of the economic effect of the closure of radio stations. She believes the shutdown of a radio station does not only deprive citizens of access to information, but also hampers the economic progress of the state. Madam Hiaji was commenting as part of the multimedia campaign on press freedom.
Over Over the past years, the role of the media has only been limited to the dissemination of information. Many are, however, oblivious to the fact that media outlets are also businesses owned by shareholders and individuals with profit motives. The attacks on media houses and journalists in recent times have obviously derailed the gains made in the Press Freedom Index. According to the 2019 index, Ghana dropped 4 places to 27 from 23. At the back of Multimedia's campaign to defend press freedom in Ghana, Joy Business caught up with the Executive Secretary of the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, GEBA, Gloria Hiaji, who highlighted the economic impact of the closure of radio stations.
When a radio station gets shut down, I believe everybody gets affected, from the listener to the advertiser to the radio station owners themselves and management and to government. They all get affected. The economy gets affected in the sense that if you talk about business, the business itself, there is a contract, whether implied or actual, between advertisers, the advertising industry, and the radio station, that's the broadcaster. So probably, and I think I got a few calls as well in that relation, in that direction. Some of these radio stations had contracts to run adverts, okay? Some were running, some were just about to run. Then they got shut down. With that, it is a breach of a contract.
She believes government is equally losing out on revenue generation through payment of taxes by defunct media outlets. Gloria Hiaji says the already worsening unemployment rate gets exasperated when employees lose their jobs.
I am very sure that the various radio stations pay taxes of some sort. They pay their employees, they pay the Senate requirements for their employees, and then when it comes to, so in effect, whatever requirements, whatever payments that they need to make to government, because they have been shut down, all those have been curtailed. So government will be losing out on that revenue that would have been coming in from the radio station. Okay. Then when it comes to the employment part, the workers, the employees of the organization, all of a sudden, their source of income has been cut. We cannot alienate, we cannot underestimate the effect of the shutdown of a radio station. It is very, very wide.
The Media Foundation for West Africa and other civil society organizations have all joined the call to protect and defend media freedom in Ghana. The hashtag is Defend Press Freedom. Fred DeHo's report for Joy Business.
The hashtag is actually Defend Media Freedom, and you can tweet about it and you can talk about it wherever you go. Now, the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, is undertaking a forensic audit of some 21 investment firms and fund managers in the country. The audit will allow the regulator to determine the financial position of these firms as well as their ability to stay in business. Deputy Director of the Commission, Paul Abebio, in an interview said SEC will take action against these firms after the process is concluded. He was speaking at the Starlip Dialogue series in Accra on the investment industry survival.
The Exchange Commission has come under public criticism for lack of effective mechanisms to deal with non-performing investment firms and dealers in the country. A section of the public has also blamed the regulator for many locked-up funds of depositors and investors. As part of measures to address these pertinent issues, the regulator has directed that an audit be conducted into the activities of 21 investment firms and fund managers. Deputy Director at the SEC, Paul Abebio, said the process is to assess the financial position of these firms.
Doing is to assess the level of exposure the firms have, the level of risks in those businesses, and then coming out of that to have a better understanding of the status of their operations. In our regular inspections, we get an appreciation of the state of these firms, but sometimes you need a third party to come in to verify, one, where are the assets, two, like how we talk about the interconnectedness, because if you understand the interconnectedness, you get a better appreciation of what actions you can take coming out of that. Coming out of that will obviously take a decision. Some firms may have to be wound up, other firms may be recoverable. so that if the portfolio is in good standing and they can recover from where their positions are, we'll ask them for a roadmap on how to address the challenges they face.
Speaking at a dialogue series in Accra on the investments industry survival after the banking sector reforms, Managing Director of Stanlib, Alex Asiedu, urged the Commission to be effective in its work to boost confidence in the sector.
100,000 cedis 5-10 years ago was probably worth about $50,000. I mean, exchange rates have moved. 100,000 cedis today is worth less than $20,000. Are you saying that that should be enough capital for an investment firm to manage its funds? I mean, the jury is out there. And so, yes, I think reform is required. But you're right, we need to look at the pace of reform since there's already a bit of a dearth of confidence by the public in the financial services industry. We need to pace it out. But definitely, the SEC has to be seen to be acting aggressively, not aggressively, but seen to be acting quickly to help resolve some of the crisis. I think it will also lend to a bit more confidence in our industry.
The dialogue series is an annual public forum by Stanlib Ghana that brings together leading financial market players to discuss relevant issues to chart a path for growth.
Meanwhile, head of supervision at the Bank of Ghana, CJC, has entreated financial institutions and investors with locked-up funds at the Consolidated Bank, CBG, to report to the Bank of Ghana. According to him, the central bank has instructed CBG to pay funds of all investment firms and other financial institutions.
An asset company of a bank, the assets and liabilities of those companies were not transferred to CBG. A lot of instances, management of the central bank directed that CBG should pay all deposits of rural banks and savings and loans and finance houses. So if you are here and you have money with CBG, rural bank, finance house, savings and loans, and you have not been paid, please come to my office. Because that instruction was given, and CBG is expected to comply. And for me, I have seen the numbers, what CBG has paid off so far. And if you still have a deposit with CBG, and you're a finance company, savings and loans, whatever, rural bank, and you've not been paid, come. But please, if that money is encumbered, if you have used that money to take a facility, you don't come. Yes, because they come to my office and you begin to ask the questions only to realize that the money is encumbered. They've used the money.
While still in the financial sector, the microfinance sector seems to be bouncing back gradually after the Bank of Ghana revoked the licenses of over 300 microfinance companies as part of efforts to sanitize the sector. CEO of Universal Savings and Loans, one of the surviving microfinance companies, that is Kojo Fofie, tells Joy Business the uncertainty that surrounded the cleanup exercise took a lot of businesses away, whilst the industry recorded many hasty withdrawals. Now, he says after a while, activities have bounced back and confidence level is gradually improving.
Recent development, that is the Bank of Ghana's exercise of revoking the licenses of over 347 microfinance companies. The few of us who were left, it looks like within the period, people were not too sure as to whether that was the end of it, and therefore people became a bit skeptical. But then, so for Universal Microfinance, in the first, within the first week, 2 weeks, we got people who were trying to withdraw their money, and some did withdraw because they were not too sure. But when we took time to explain to them that this exercise is rather something that will ensure that the institutions that are left are that credible that people wouldn't have to worry about it before they do business with them. They've rather gained much more confidence in us. And in fact, the whole of where our head office is, Malam here, We are like the only microfinance company that was left to continue operation. And the people have now appreciated that we are that credible and reliable, and as we may see, very dependable. So business is quite better.
You're watching Business Live. We want to turn to the hospitality industry, and President of the Ghana Hotels Association, Dr. Edward Akanyameke, has hinted that consumers may have to pay more for hospitality services with the recent hikes in electricity tariffs and other charges that continue to burden the industry. Now, according to the president of the association, despite several complaints, little has been done to address the challenges facing the hospitality sector. He said it was about time some tax cuts were given to operators to reduce the cost of the operations.
The high cost of electricity and water tariffs, value-added taxes, tourism levy, property rate taxes are among the many charges and taxes that hotels and other stakeholders of the hospitality industry persistently grapple with. Speaking to Joy Business, President of the Hotels Association, Dr. Edward Nyameke Jr., noted despite several appeals to officials on the matter, the issue still persists. He lamented the cost will eventually be passed on to customers through increased charges.
The basic things that we've been talking about are yet to be addressed. We've been talking about the value-added tax, at least to give a special concession to the hotels to charge lower, and that with other issues with the regulatory bodies, okay, where we pay licenses every year, and then these days there are even more coming up. Recently, the Ghana Standards Authority has also stepped out its licensing of escalators and lifts. We will have to pay for that as well, you know. So the components, the payments are so many. So the cost of operation is very high. And once that cost of operation is high, it will certainly will have to reflect in the rates that the customer pays.
The president of the association advocated funds from the tourism levy fund should be plowed back into the industry to support its growth.
But we want a system where that fund, which is mandatory, if we are paying to the fund, roll back some into the associations, let them perform more effectively. Then we'll get more hotels on board, more restaurants on board to work, and also to pay that 1%. We want an institutionalized system of disbursement. Every year, say 5% or 10% of whatever inflow comes in should go into the Ghana Tourism Federation. Let them use it to run the federation, and by extension, run the association. We'll become stronger. Operators will become stronger. They will pay more.
For Joy Business, Sheila Tamaklo reporting.
We want to bring you an update now on the situation at the Tema Oil Refinery, and that company is optimistic that its total legacy debts would soon be cleared. This is based on a new arrangement by the ESLA PLC to finally pay off this debt, which stands at 1.85 billion cedis, and in April this year. George Affe has more on what will be the impact of clearing the debt on Ghanaians.
Refinery argues the new arrangement that has been put in place by government through the company established to clear the energy sector debt, that is the ESLA PLC, should ensure that this legacy debt is cleared. Head of Finance at the Tema Oil Refinery, and Apia, said the payment could be made very soon.
So we're all waiting for the second tranche of the bond issued under the PLC. So the expectation is that if that bond is issued, then the sum of our debt will be cleared, and then we'll have a claim balance and we can move forward. I mean, so everything is based on the ESLA, the second bond that should be issued.
However, if the expected clearance delays, then every month interest build up on this debt, as well as the city depreciation, could result in it hitting fresh levels. Well, for some, when this debt is finally cleared, then a strong case can be made for the removal of some levies placed on the price build-up of petrol and diesel, which is said to have contributed to the high petroleum prices. On the other hand, some industry watchers are also raising issues about using the ESLA bonds to pay for all the Temator debts, arguing that there should be a clear distinction between the debt owed by a government and those ones that was caused by TOR's own inefficiencies. Well, it looks like this whole debate about the TOR debt would not be ending anytime soon.